You want to be in the video? Peach is very confused what's going on because I haven't filmed the video in over a year. Okay, we're doing this. Hey guys, it's Rhea. I feel like I owe you an explanation, possibly. Right off the bat, it's just me. I will explain that in a little bit. We haven't posted a video on this channel for, I think, over a year, and I have been wanting to make this video for a year, and I didn't know, I knew I wanted to make this video, but I didn't know what it was gonna be. And as of recently, I've kind of come to this point where I know what I need to be saying and what I need to talk about. It's gonna be a long video. I did write a bunch of notes because I don't want this video to just be a long rambling video that doesn't make sense, because I have a lot of points I want to make in this video, and I also want this video not only to help me, because this video is mostly just for me, but I want this to maybe help one of you that's going through the same thing or went through the same thing or is going through this and doesn't know it, and now maybe you can get some tools from this video to overcome what I'm going to be talking about. Whew. So let me just address the first thing right off the bat. Leah and I are probably not going to be doing videos together anymore. We just realized we're two different people. We have different interests in what we want to do on this channel, and she gave me the go-ahead to post videos if I want to. As far as rebranding the channel, like changing the name, I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that yet, and I also don't know after this video. I don't have a plan of what I'm going to be posting and uploading. I think this is just the big one that needs to be talked about first. Yeah, welcome back to the channel if you guys have stuck around for this whole kind of hiatus that the channel's been on. And if you're new to the channel, I'm Rhea, and my sister and I started this channel a couple of years ago. It was never our intention to just stop filming videos. It just sort of happened, and for me personally, this has been a really tough year for my own personal growth, and I didn't know how to document that because I was going through it, and now I feel like I'm at a place where I'm on the other side, or I'm still working through this hurdle in my life, and I feel like I'm at a point where talking about it will help not only me, but hopefully some of you. So this video is going to be focused around something that I've personally struggled with my whole life. Recently, in my adult years, it's been the worst it's ever been, and I've finally realized the issue, and I've seen the big picture of how this is such a toxic thing in my life. People pleasing. Now, I know that sounds a little crazy. At first, I didn't think that was a bad thing. I grew up knowing that I was super empathetic, and I loved saying yes to people and being there for people, which is great, but it's when it gets to a point where it's a fault, and it is overpowering your own ability to be your own person and think for yourself and just grow as an individual. And I feel like that's something I've just now realized that it's been harming me longer than it's been helping me, if that makes sense. I just got to the point where I needed to change something. I just got that breakthrough moment where I'm like, this isn't the way I want to be for the rest of my life. So yeah, let me just start off with a question. What is people pleasing? Often a person who has an emotional need to please others, often at the expense of his or her own needs or desires. Being there for people, being a supportive person, being an empathetic person, somebody's like shoulder to cry on, that is okay. But when it's to the point where your life is ruled by what others think of you, you can't say no to people, you can't stand up for yourself, you can't make your own decisions, it becomes a problem. That's the first step of realizing that you want to overcome something, is realizing the problem. I'm actually in the middle of reading this book called Disease to Please, Curing the People-Pleasing Syndrome. I couldn't even get a quarter of the way through because I was bawling at how accurate and how close to home this hit. It really made me realize something about myself that I need to fix and work on. It's great to be there for people, but when it's at the expense of your own, when you're putting yourself last and neglecting yourself, and like for years and years you're just going along with doing what everyone else tells you to do or wants you to do, it is not a fun way to live. I don't know if any of you guys have taken that personality test where you're either a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9. I took that test about a year ago, and I found out also about myself that I am a number 9, which I'll link down below where you can take that test, and you can just read up on it. I don't take these things so seriously where I'm like, this is me and this is all I am, but it is interesting to hear and read about yourself from a perspective that's not yours. And I read that, and I also just bawled my eyes out because I am coming to terms with how I am as a person and how big of a heart I have and how I've let things in my life kind of hurt my heart. So for my whole life, as far as I can remember, elementary school, high school, university, and even now adulthood, I've let other people's opinions of me hurt my own opinion of myself. And I think realizing that was a huge step in just changing the perspective of how I see myself and how I interact with others, and how I don't absorb things from people that I shouldn't be absorbing. That's the only reason why I'm able to make this video, is because I have a new perspective on it, and I'm not worried if somebody watches this and laughs at it or thinks I'm being dramatic. I don't care what anyone's thinking when they're watching this. I just need to do this for myself, and I hope that it helps maybe at least one person. Yeah, so I'm just going to read off some of the things that, the toxic qualities that I had and that I still have, that I'm still trying to work on, that relate with being a people pleaser. I always look for approval in others. I'm indecisive because of this. I often sacrifice my own happiness in worry of looking selfish for standing up for myself. I have based a lot of my sense of self on others' opinions. I found it hard to say no to anything. I let people walk all over me because I couldn't stand up for myself. I'm afraid to speak my mind because I don't want to upset anyone, even though I was the one in the end who often got upset. I bottled my emotions, which turned into anxiety. Anxiety's a thing. A lot of people deal with it, and I think part of my breakthrough was realizing what was causing my anxiety my whole life. And it is people pleasing and caring too much about everyone else and not caring about Rhea. I don't want this to be weighing me down and take that into the next chapter of my life when I do get married and have kids. Like, I don't want to carry that. I want to work on this now, and I'm mad at myself, but I'm trying to be gracious to myself for not knowing all this sooner. But there's no time like the present to start working on something. I need to be more gracious with myself and just tell myself that it's okay and it's going to be okay. The first tactic I want to talk about on how to overcome being a people pleaser is knowing that it is okay to put yourself first. You need to understand and realize what you are and are not responsible for. I am not responsible for the version of me that you've created in your mind. And for the longest time, I would always try to match those people's opinions of me, and then it just causes this like internal conflict where I feel like I don't know who I am. You need to set boundaries, and I think that's something that can be uncomfortable, and I'm still learning how to do that. I am just learning to guard my heart and just sort of be assertive, but in a good, selfish way, if that makes sense. So I was always scared that if I said no to somebody, or I said I'm not actually interested in attending that event, or whatever it is, I always felt deep down like I was disappointing that person, or I would just have so much anxiety about saying no. And realistically, if I decline something in a nice, respectable way, there's nothing wrong with that. And I think I've really learned that this year, and I think that's super important to know what your boundaries are, what you are and aren't okay with, whether that's in your personal life, at work, at school, and within reason. Obviously, you don't want to go around just saying no to everything and being all like angry. It's not that way. It's in a respectable way. And it is okay to be a little bit selfish. And I think I was always scared to be even a tiny bit selfish. Something too, you also have to be nice to yourself up here. I have to work on that. And you have one mind and one place up here to live. You have to make it a nice, comfortable place. And I think for the longest time I wouldn't want anyone to be up here listening to how I was talking to myself. I wouldn't want anyone to talk to themselves that way. So why let myself talk to myself like that for so long? The number 2 thing that I want to talk about is that people pleasing doesn't just affect you, it affects the people closest to you. And that one took me a long time to realize. I think one of the things I personally struggle with is needing my parents' approval to make decisions, and that has stunted my growth as a human. And I know they mean well, and I know they only want the best for me, but I think getting to a point where I stand up and say, I get that that's your opinion or that's your point of view from your perspective, but I don't agree, and then I need to be okay with the fact that I can disagree with somebody, whether that's my parents, my friends, like a coworker. I just need to be at peace and okay with that, and I think I'm starting to get to that point where I'm okay with disagreeing, and I'm not gonna be upset if that hurts your feelings. Like, that sounds a little harsh, but it's knowing when that line is being crossed and it's coming into a point where it's hurting you more than it's helping you, I guess. I'm just going to read something that has to do with how people-pleasing can affect other people in your life. It was in this book. I've made so many notes in this book. It's insane. So it says, over time, long-suppressed anger and resentment turn toxic, might even cause cherished relationships to weaken or fail. So being a people-pleaser, sometimes, most times, if I don't want to do something but I do it anyways, or I go along with something that I didn't agree with, I have resentment towards that situation or that person, and that in turn causes a conflict without even knowing it. It causes a conflict between me and that person. I don't want to push away the people that I love the most, and sometimes by people pleasing, you're doing the exact opposite. You're making nobody happy. You're making yourself upset, and it's not an overnight thing. It's a gradual thing that happens, and I think that's why it's taken so long for me to see this and get to this point, because it doesn't just happen overnight. It's years and years and years of just being this way, and now trying to flip my mindset to be better and be the stronger version of myself that I know I can be. Okay, so this one kind of piggybacks on what I was just talking about, like the disapproval of others. You do not need another person's approval or disapproval to alter how you feel about yourself. Do what makes you happy, because in the end, you're the only person that's going to make yourself happy and do things day to day that make you a better person. And if you just let other people dictate what you can and can't do, or let their negativity or their opinions creep in, that's going to start building a false representation of yourself. And you know yourself, you know your heart, or you are growing to learn to know yourself. And I feel like you need to do what makes you happy. And if somebody comes along and discourages you, you have to just know in your heart that this isn't something that you're trying to prove to them. You're not trying to prove it to anybody, except it's something that makes you happy and that you want to work for. And I feel like maybe it's easier said than done, but I think starting with small little no's, so saying no to small things slowly kind of will help break the habit of being a people pleaser. And then when you do say no, I think you need to say no with conviction. My opinion can get switched really easily depending on what somebody says. So I think saying no with conviction, like saying, sorry, I can't come out this weekend, I need time to myself. That gives no room for somebody to try and tell you otherwise. And if they do, and they keep trying to, and if they don't respect that you need the time or you want to be on your own, then maybe that's not the best person to be around. You don't owe anyone an explanation as to why you can't or don't want to go. But that doesn't mean also never say yes to things. So I think there's a really good balance that you need to have. Know your boundaries and know when to say yes and know when to say no. If you don't stand up for yourself, literally no one else will. Be proud of what you're doing and what you're working on, because if you're super passionate and proud about something, nobody's opinion of what you're doing should affect that. Piggybacking off that last one I just mentioned, you need to learn to stop giving excuses and justifying yourself. Whenever I would say no to something, I would give like this whole explanation, and I think realistically you just need to give a short reason, like, I can't come out this weekend, I'm anxious and I need time to myself. That's a short explanation. But I would go to the point where I would feel so guilty thinking, oh, these people hate me, or oh, this person is mad at me. It's like I would come up with all these excuses and all these things that weren't even real. And it just made me go down this tunnel of anxiety that was so unnecessary, but I just didn't know how to do anything other than that. When you do this, it takes away your power and your voice. And I'm really now in this phase where I'm learning to find my voice and stand up and do things that make me proud and happy. And I think that it's a beautiful thing. It's a very hard path, and I read somewhere that healing is not linear. It is very up and down, but as long as I'm still working on going forward and focusing on myself and bettering myself, then the end goal is going to be worth it. So back to what I was talking about in the beginning, how at first I thought people pleasing was a good thing, and then when I read more about it, I actually read that it's a flaw in the way that you think. And it also comes with not just mental things to work on, like your indecisiveness, your self-deprecation, and how you have low self-confidence, your inability to focus. Like, it has a lot going on in your head, but it also takes a toll on your physical body, like loss of appetite, mood swings, pent-up anger, frustration, migraines, tension headaches. I was dealing with this stuff pretty much my whole life, and that's not a healthy way to live. Mental health is very much real, and I know there's this whole stigma around if you don't see it, it doesn't exist. But that's not the case, and I feel like there's a lot of things that mental health triggers that makes your physical health deteriorate too, and that's kind of maybe the only time when people see it as an issue, and they're like, oh, you've lost a lot of weight, what's going on? It's like, oh, I'm anxious and I can't eat. So I think they go hand in hand, and I really am such an advocate for mental health awareness and talking about it. That's why I feel like maybe I can use the small platform I have to kind of like raise awareness to people pleasing and my struggles. And I'm hoping that by me being vulnerable with the camera and with you guys watching on the other end, that you can know that you're not alone and this stuff's real. It's hard, but it doesn't define you. You don't have to go around being labeled as, I have anxiety, I'm a people pleaser, because that's not all you are. That's a small part of you that you're working on. So my last point that I want to talk about is being honest, be kind to yourself, and be unapologetically you. That to me sums up how I'm personally getting over this and how I'm working through being a people pleaser and not letting that rule my life. A quote I saw, I'll put up who said it here. If you spend your life pleasing others, you spend your life. I think that really brought a lot to my attention, realizing that I have let this take up so much of my life that I'm taking back what is mine, and I have such a better mentality, and I'm doing things that make me happy again. I've wanted to make videos for so long, and I still do, and this brings me joy, talking to you guys, filming, editing. Not all the videos I post are going to be this intense and emotional. This has to be the one that I come back with. I'm just going to end off with some more little positive notes that I put in here to myself, and I think the best way is just for me to read it straight through. Stop trying to fit a mold that others have created for you and start working on creating your own mold and supporting yourself. Don't let the fear of needing acceptance and approval ruin my life. I like me, and that's all that matters. God created me in His image, and I'm done being mean to myself. It's time that I become my own best friend. We're gonna start being nicer up here. That concludes my video. Thank you so much if you watched this whole thing, and I just want to ask one thing of you guys. If you can, in the comments below, write 1, 2, 5, 10 affirmations that you want to start saying to yourself, and I will read all the comments and I will like them and respond to you guys. I want to have a positive outlook on this whole thing and know that it's not something that can control your life. You can take back ownership of your life, and I think daily affirmations, telling yourself, I can do this, to me, that's a big one, because my whole life I would just tell myself, you can't do that, why are you even trying? And I would be so negative. So the first thing that I ever started saying to myself the past couple of weeks or months was, I can do this. I have a journal that I write in every day, and I've even started writing, like, if I find myself being negative or finding myself being down on myself, I literally write to myself, Rhea, you can do this. And to me, it was just like I'm being my own number one fan. I'm being my own best friend. I'm being there for myself because, like I said earlier, you only have one place to live up here, and you have to make it a safe, happy place. So yeah, comment down below a positive daily affirmation that you want to start living by. And I guess that wraps it up. I will see you guys in the next video. I don't know what it's going to be, but we're doing this. We're going to do vlogs, art videos, thrift hauls. I don't know. Comment down below if you also have ideas. And I don't know when I'll see you next, but I promise you that you will see me again, and I really appreciate if you sat through this whole video. So I'll see you in the next video, guys. Bye.